In my terminal, if I run npm version, you'll see we'll have version 11.14, and which npm will point to my global npm installation. Now with the way I have Codex configured, I'm able to test npm version inside of Codex and instead get a message back that npm is disabled, and here are some common replacements. And if I run which npm, you'll see this is pointing to my current lesson called no npm in the Codex configuration with a shim replacing npm. So if we look at how this is set up, it all starts with a Codex directory, and in the Codex directory, you have a config toml file. And in that config toml, you have a z.dir environment variable, which when zsh, which is your shell that runs inside of Codex, launches, it's going to set that variable to Codex zsh directory right here. Now, if we check on our terminal and I were to run an echo on my z.dir, you'll see in my terminal, it's pointing to my home directory in a config zsh directory. Yours might be configured differently. It depends on the user and how they set it up. But for what we're doing inside of our config toml, we're telling it to load this directory, and zsh has conventions to load a zsh end file and a profile file, both of which are going to do the same thing. The Z profile file is essentially another guard on Mac where you might run into a login startup scenario. But what both of these files do is overwrite the path. Now your path is essentially a colon delimited list, a colon separated list of paths on your system where your binaries are, your executables are, like npm and node and git and all of those. So what we're doing is we are hijacking this with our Codex bin in our current working directory so that inside of Codex bin, we have our shimmed npm. So when Codex goes to reach for npm, it's going to execute this one instead of the globally installed npm. So no matter what inside of Codex, even if you tell it to run, please run npm install jQuery, you'll see it attempts to run it, but it's blocked by the Codex exec policy. And the exec policy is another layer of protection where you can define rules that say, if you find npm, forbid it, here's the justification, and match against npm. So this is Codex's built-in way of setting rules and patterns to prevent tools being called, but this wouldn't prevent inside of Codex running npm install jQuery. So we did this through a shim inside of our bin directory. So you're essentially preventing this from two different angles. This is probably the most common way of doing it, but what's really cool about using a shim is that if we run into this scenario where I say run our test npm script here, because there's no npm being run, the policy would have missed this. And sometimes agents will write workarounds to get around these restrictions by writing scripts. But we've configured the environment itself to prevent it from running npm. And I'll just prove that real quick by deleting the rules directory. I'll start a new session and I'll say run our test npm.js again. You'll see that npm is disabled. And if I restore our rules real quick, and then this time I'll edit this to not load our z.dir. Now you'll see if I start a new session with Codex and I tell it to run our test npm script, even though we've set rules up, our agent is going to be able to access and test npm. Now, if you do want to go full security, obviously run this in a sandbox that doesn't have the tools or anything on your system available at all. But if you're going to allow tools to run autonomously on your personal system and you just want to shim in explicit restrictions and kind of redirect where and how commands should run on your system, you could really do whatever you want inside of this script. Right now, it's just printing out a message back to the agent. You could have this completely just rewrite to pnpm or bun without even sending a message. So your options are really unlimited here.